Hey, peace and love, wonderful Black God Fire family. Welcome to the Swahili classes for the weekend. I do hope that you're doing wonderful. And I do hope that you have had a fantastic weekend. And if not, things will eventually shape up. My name is Pikes. And in case you're joining us for the very first time on these particular Swahili classes, this is where we get to connect as a family and get to learn Swahili. Because this is the most popular or the most spoken African language on the continent, and this has over 150 million speakers across the continent. And even though its birthplace or its origin is known to be the East African coast, this language has continued to expand and be spoken by people from different parts of this continent. And I'm talking about places such as Zambia. I'm talking about places such as Tanzania. I'm talking about places such as Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and that is all. Those are some of the places that the language is actually spoken. So, in case you're joining us for the very first time, and maybe perhaps you're wondering why Swahili. Swahili is relatively easy to learn. Swahili is relatively easy to learn, and if you compare to other languages, for example, we do have the Shona. We do have the Fulani language. We do have the Igbo language of the people of the West Africa. You do realize that those particular languages, they are also somewhat easy because they are Bantu languages. But then again, compared, you do find that Swahili is relatively easier. I have been to Rwanda myself. The other languages, for example, the Kinyarwanda, which is also a beautiful language. We do have another language such as the Kibaganda, the Baganda language, spoken by the people of Uganda. All those are beautiful languages, but I will still stick to the fact that Swahili is nice and Swahili is quite easy to understand and maybe perhaps learn within a short time. There are many resources that you can use to learn Swahili. For example, the Duolingo app. We do have the Duolingo app. We also do have the Swahili dictionary, which is also known as the Kamusi. The Kamusi will help you have the interpretations of one word from Swahili, or from English to Swahili, and from Swahili to English. So that is some of the things that you can get to use, either the Duolingo app, you can use the Swahili dictionary, and you can use also all these resources that are available on YouTube. For example, some of these particular videos that we have been putting up from the live streams of us teaching or engaging in learning Swahili. Once again, my name is Spikes. And if you do have a question at any juncture, feel free to interject, feel free to ask any question, and I will be more than glad to respond to you regarding anything that we are going to learn along our way during this particular segment. In Swahili, we welcome you by saying Karibu, Karibu. We welcome you by saying Karibu. And that is simply to say welcome. And if I wanted to emphasize and say much welcome, or you very welcome, you would say karibu sana in Swahili, karibu sana, which is much welcome, very welcome, because sana is simply used to put an emphasis, or sana is simply a way to show an emphasis. Sana is simply a lot, all, very, all, a lot, all, very. So if someone actually just did say karibu sana, if someone actually just told you karibu sana, then you understand that he's saying, or she is saying, you are very welcome, or you are much welcome. And when you talk about a class, when you're talking about a class and you're introducing someone to the class and you're welcoming them to class, you simply would say karibu darasani, because darasa, darasa, this is a class. So if you do say darasani, you mean inside the class. Darasani darasani is in class, in class. And the ni syllable, the ni syllable, this we're having a bit of the ni syllable, in Swahili has several uses. If you're talking about the ni, it has several uses. The ni has two uses. Let me just point out two uses, or three uses. Let me just point out the three uses of the ni syllable. The ni is used to point to self. I. For example, if you wanted to say, I want some water, you would say, ni nataka maji, because maji, maji is water. So if you're pointing to self, you're talking about the first person, singular, I, you would say ni. That points to self. It points to self, So points to self, I in bracket, I, in bracket, I, which is the first person, The ni is also used to show that the syllable ni is also used to show inside. If you're talking about a place and you say you would actually use the syllable ni as a suffix to the noun, For example, if you're talking about Soko is a market, SOKO, Soko is a market, but you say Sokoni, SOKO, let me just put it down, Sokoni. If you do say Sokoni, then it means inside the market, because you put the ni, which is a syllable, and it shows inside or within. So that is the second use of ni. When it is used as a suffix for a noun, it shows that you're talking about inside a place or within a place. That is why we did say, if you're talking about darasa, you would say darasa to mean class. But if you do say darasani, you've used the ni syllable. In that particular noun, it shows that you're inside the class or within the class. Inside the class or within the class. That is how simply you do get to use the ni syllable, the ni syllable. The ni syllable can also be used to mean, or it can also be used in place for is. For example, if you're talking about the tea is sweet, the tea is sweet, If you're talking about the tea is sweet, you would say chai is for tea, ni tamu, chai ni tamu. So the ni syllable in that particular case, it is being used. The ni syllable in that particular case is being used to mean is, or to mean is. So the syllable ni is used to mean is. Ni equals to is. So in that regard, you can see three different uses of ni. And like I did say, I would actually just tell you karibu darasani. But also ni can be used to sort of give a general welcome. If I did say karibuni, I put the syllable ni also at the end of the verb, the verb. Then it means that I'm also generalizing in terms of the number of people that I'm talking to. Anyhow, last week we did learn about greetings in Swahili. And we did say that if you're saying hello to one individual, you simply do say hujambo, Hujambo, for hello to one individual. But I'm not sure if you remember what we did say. If you're saying hello to a group of individuals, this is just a recap of what we did learn last week. So if you saying hello to a group of group of people, then you would say ham jambo, not who, but ham, ham jambo. This is just for hello to a group of people. Hello to a group of people. And how they would respond, how they would actually respond is they would say hatujambo, hatujambo, hatujambo. Hatujambo is a response, is a reply. But if you're talking about the reply of one particular individual, or someone just came up to you and said hujambo, you respond and say si jambo, si jambo, si jambo. Si jambo is how you respond, the reply. If you're talking about for a hello, if you're talking about one individual, then you would actually say si jambo, si jambo. There are many uses. there are many uses of the syllable si. But one of the uses of the syllable si is that you use to negate something. If you're talking about something positive, you would actually say, for example, ninaenda shule, ninaenda shule. Then here I say points to I, so you would say ninaenda shule, which is I am going to school. I am going to school. I am going to school. But if you want to negate that particular sentence and put it in a negative, so of course what you would say is siendi shule. Siendi shule. So that means I am not going to school. I am not going to school. That is simply how you would say it. If you say, if you wanted to say I'm going to school, you would say ninaenda shule. But if you want to negate that particular sentence, you would actually say siendi shule. Siendi shule to mean I am not going to school. If you did say ninataka maji, you simply just say ninataka taka maji, which is I want water. I want water. But if you did want to negate the same, if you wanted to negate that particular sentence, you would say si taki maji, which is I don't want water. I don't want water. I don't want water. I don't want water. That is how you simply say, you negate a sentence and say, sitaki maji, which is I don't want water. Last week, we learned about the vowels in Swahili. And we did say that if you to raise up your palm like this, if you to raise up your hand like this, then you do have the 5 fingers, and these 5 fingers also represents the 5 vowels in Swahili. We do have the vowel A, we do have the vowel M, we do have the vowel E, we do have the vowel O, we do have the vowel O. So those are the 5 vowels in Swahili, and they can be represented by the use of your thumb, the use of your hand, really. So you would say A, E, O, O. That is simply how you represent. That is how you simply represent them. And like I did say, these are the letters of the English alphabet: A, E, I, O, and U. But in Swahili, these are the vowels: A, E, O, U. Those are the 5 vowels in Swahili. For the consonants, we do have all the letters of the English alphabet, apart from X and Q. And we did note last week that X and Q are not part of the Swahili alphabet. X and Q are not part of the Swahili alphabet. X and Q, those are not part of the Swahili alphabet. And the other thing that you also note is that in Swahili, we do have consonants, which are called the special class of consonants, And this special class of consonants, we mentioned them last week. For example, in the word chakula, chakula means food. Chakula means food. So you realize we do have the C and H. The C and H is part of the special class of consonant. The C and H is part of that. We also do have a word like dhahabu. Dhahabu means gold. And the DH is part of that. The DH is a special class of consonant. We also learned about the NG and the NG with an apostrophe. We also learned about that, about the NG and also the NG with an apostrophe. We did talk about that. For example, in the word ngombe, which is a cow. For example, in the word ngamua is another term, a verb, which means to understand or to gain understanding, ngamua. And those are some of the things, those are some of the ones, this is the NG with an apostrophe. For example, in the word ngombe, ngombe, which means a cow. Or for example, in the word ngoa. If you're talking about uproot something. For example, you're uprooting, I don't know what you might be uprooting, but we do say ngoa, uproot, ngoa. So you realize that is the NG with an apostrophe. The NG with an apostrophe. This is to uproot. KW Don, peace to you. I do hope that you're doing well. That is in Canada, right? I don't know what part of Canada you are in, whether it might be in Ontario, or you might be in Montreal, or you might be in, I don't know, what part of Canada are you in, KW Don. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have been learning Swahili for a minute. And thank you so much for being part of the Black Fire Network and for your support to the network as well. We keep it going every other weekend, and we never take your company for granted. So thank you so much. So we do have those special class of consonants, like I did say, the CH, the DH, the TH, the NG with an apostrophe, the SH, is the SH. The SH is also another special class of consonant, the SH. And I have given examples in previous times, like I did say about shughuli. Shughuli is an activity. Shughuli is an activity or a task, activity or a task. So therefore, if we do say niko na shughuli kidogo, niko, the NI once again points to self. So if we do say niko na shughuli kidogo, that would be I have some errands, all tasks to carry, to undertake. And we did say, if you're talking about kidogo simply means a little. Kidogo simply means a little. And if you're talking about a little time, if you're talking about maybe a little time, a literal, that would be kidogo. So if you did say I want, ninataka maji kidogo, ninataka maji is water, maji kidogo. So that would be understood to be I want a little water, a bit of some water or a little water. So whatever you put after you request and you say kidogo, kidogo simply means a little. So if you say nitachelewa kidogo, I will be late a little. Nitachelewa, chelewa is to be late. Chelewa is to be late. So if you would say nitachelewa kidogo, then that is understood to be I will be a little late, and it's not difficult to comprehend or understand that. So if you do have a question up to that particular point, please do ask. If you do have a question up to that particular point, please do ask. We have learned a few things. We have learned about the use of the ni, the syllable ni, and you have said the syllable ni can have three uses. It can be used as a suffix for verb to show, as a suffix for a noun to show that you're talking about you are inside or within a place within that particular noun. If you're talking about another use of the ni syllable, it is used to in place of is. So, for example, if you do say the tea is sweet, you do say chai ni tamu, chai ni tamu. And now we have seen that the other use of ni is what is the other use of a ni? Let me just, I almost forgot what is that other use of ni. Actually, ni is used to point to self. So if you're talking about the first person singular, you do say introducing yourself, you would say ni naitwa. You might say ni naitwa Spikes. That would be you introduce yourself. If you say jambo, you say jambo, habari yako. And in the African context, people still do mess with the greetings. So someone would put out their hand like this, and they're trying to greet you. So they would say habari yako hujambo, and then they are greeting you, and then you would respond and say si jambo, and then they will go on and ask you habari yako. Habari yako is how are you. Habari yako is how are you. This is just a phrase. Habari yako. This is how are you. How are you. And how you respond is simply habari yako. You might say salama. Salama is a word that is very it means just well. We have learned about salama. If someone says habari yako, and they're just asking about your state, how are you doing, how are things with you, so you would respond and say salama. Salama simply means well or okay. So, but you would be interested in asking them, how about you? So you do say je wewe, all wewe je wewe, so that would be how about you. Because it's the same. If someone wants to introduce themselves and say habari yako, and you respond and say nzuri or salama, and then they go on and say jina langu ni Spikes or ninaitwa Spikes. So if they introduce themselves and say jina langu, jina is a name, Jina, jina langu, which is my name. So that would be jina langu ni Spikes. If they were to introduce themselves and say jina langu ni Spikes, then they might ask wewe, how about you? My name is Spikes. How about you? And then you might come up and say maybe it's KW Don, or maybe whatever name that you would like to introduce yourself as. Then that is simply how you would respond to that particular individual. And it is not even difficult. It is actually very, very simple. And if someone says umeshindaje, they're trying to make easy conversation. Umeshindaje, the vowel o mostly it points to you. The second person singular. So if someone was to ask umeshindaje, umeshindaje is a phrase. Shindaje is a phrase, which is how have you been through the day? How have you been? Have you been through the day? Through the day. And you might as well respond and say salama. Salama means well. Salama means okay. Salama means all right. and it's not even difficult. If you have a question to that particular point, feel free to interject. I did say that Swahili is a question. Swahili is a question. Swahili is a question. Swahili is a question. So if someone wants to ask, do you have a question? Uko na swali. Uko na swali. Swahili is a question. Swahili is a question, and that is simply to be answered with an answer. And for an answer, we do say jibu. Jibu, Jibu. That is an answer. That is jibu. Jibu. Jibu is an answer. And you might say niko na jibu. Niko, N-I, points again to self. Niko is niko na. That would be I have. Then that is followed by whatsoever. But you might say, I have an answer. If you were to say, I have an answer to your question. Therefore, you would say, Nikona jibu, because jibu is an answer. Jibu is an answer. Jibu is an answer. You might also say you have other things. For example, you did have money. You therefore say, Nikona pesa, Niko. Na pesa. Pesa is money. So I have money. Because Swahili is a language of business. Swahili is a language of a business. And someone might be trying to sell you, they might be trying to sell you a pair of shoes. Or they might be trying to sell you a hat, a cap. They might be trying to sell you a baseball cap. They might be trying to sell you some books. They might be trying to selling some clothes. In Kenya, we call it mtumba, which is second-hand clothes. They might be trying to sell you some mtumba, and therefore they might ask you, uko na pesa ngapi? Who points to you? Who points to you? So uko na pesa ngapi? Uko na pesa ngapi? That will be how much money? How much money do you have? And remember, we did say, if you're talking about a literal, anything, some literal money, a literal time, a literal activities, you might say niko na pesa kidogo. Niko na pesa kidogo. And there's another popular syllable in Swahili, which is tu. Tu, T-U, is another popular syllable. But the TU is used to show amount in terms of miniature or in terms of how small that amount might be. So if we did say niko na pesa kidogo tu, niko na pesa kidogo tu, tu shows just it's just very literal, very literal in that regard. So up to that particular point, if you did have a question, please make sure you ask. I did say we have 5 vowels in Swahili. There are E, O, U. Those are the 5 vowels. And then we do have the consonants that constitute all the letters of the English alphabet except for X and Q. And then apart from that, we also do have the special class of consonants. And this special class of consonants, they put together 2 consonants. For example, T and H, C and H, S and H, D and H. That is what we do have. And anyone can as well just get to ask, and it's not rather even difficult. It's very simple. It's very simple because with those vowels, someone can simply get to exercise, and they would actually be able to know. How to go about their Swahili. Swahili is not difficult. Swahili isn't difficult. Swahili is not difficult. Actually, it's very simple. It's very simple. And it would be very bad for you if we did have all these classes and you were not able to learn anything from what we have been teaching. It would be very, very sad if we did not if we not take keen interest in getting to learn this language. It would be very, very bad if you are not keen on this particular language to learn anything. So we continue. We continue. If anyone has a question, if anyone has a question, please feel free to ask. If anyone has a question, kindly feel free to ask. If you do have a question, kindly feel free to ask. Like I did say, Swahili is a language that has some Arabic influences, but Swahili is not an Arabic language. Swahili is actually a Bantu language. And this Bantu language, we know that all languages keep on evolving. You know, a language, how can I put this? A language and a culture keeps on evolving. And therefore, when you talk about Swahili, Swahili has also made a lot of milestones in terms of growing. And what you do get to learn is that some of the things maybe perhaps, some of the things maybe perhaps are things that maybe someone might not have come across. For example, a computer, a phone. Back then, this is technology that wasn't there. But then again, you get to realize that the language keeps on adapting new words. The language keeps on adapting new words, and also new words maybe perhaps that might not have been existent back in the day. They will also keep on coming up, and therefore it is quite important that we also take note over these changes, take note over these particular changes that happen in the Swahili language. So we do have some notes. We do have some notes that we get to use for Swahili classes. And I think if you would like a copy of these particular notes, you can simply shoot an email right to me. This is Black Hot Fire Africa, Black Hot Fire Africa at gmail.com. And I will be more than glad to respond to you and share with you those particular notes. I did say we have three uses. Sorry, we have three uses of the syllable name. And I did say that if you're pointing to yourself and you're talking about yourself and you're trying to introduce yourself, you would say Nina, it was Spikes. Nina, it was Spikes. But if you're asking someone how about you, you might ask them unaitwa nani, unaitwa nani, because u, the vowel u, which is the English letter u, the vowel u points to the second person, and therefore you would ask unaitwa nani, unaitwa nani. And if you do get to ask them unaitwa nani, they can come up and say jina langu ni so and so. Jina langu ni so and so, because I did say jina is just a Swahili word with two syllables, and the jina simply means the name. So that will be jina langu ni Spikes. Je wewe. That is simply how you get to ask how about them, and they would respond and say ninaitwa so and so. Maybe you're talking to someone like Keith, or you're talking to Joby, or you're talking to what's her name? I keep on forgetting. But anyhow, You might also continue the conversation. You might also continue the conversation, and you're trying to say, where are you from? Where are you from? So therefore, you would ask, je, unatoka wapi? Je, umetoka wapi? The JE, which is a syllable, signals the start of a question. So therefore, you would say, je, unatoka wapi? Je, unatoka wapi? And je, wapi? Je, unatoka wapi? So if you get to ask, where are you coming from? Where are you coming from? Or where do you come from? Then that is simply how you get to ask someone, say, where are you coming from? Or where do you come from? Someone might say, I am from Chicago. I am from Nairobi. I am from Dakar, Senegal. I am from Durban, South Africa. I am from Johannesburg. I am from New Delhi. I am from whatever part they might answer. They would respond and say, nimetoka, nimetoka, metoka, nimetoka Nairobi, which is I'm from Nairobi, which is I am from Nairobi. I am from Nairobi. That is simply how they would respond, and they would say, I am from Nairobi. I am from Nairobi. And it's not even difficult. It's very, very easy. It's very, very easy. And that is simply how you respond, and you tell someone, this is where I'm coming from, or this is where I do come from. And it's not difficult, like I did say. So it is an easy language, one of the easiest languages that you can get to learn, and we shall continue learning that. Though we shall take a short break, but we shall be right back and continue with the classes after this short music break.
MAC addresses of the routers, channels, signal strength, encryption type, and much more. Here, what we're going to be looking is going to be a WPO2 secure network. Ideally, this one client connected to the network and a strong enough signal, which can be anything from 196. Once you have your eyes on target, you will want to isolate and monitor just that network to keep the capture file clean. In this case, we will only focus on this network right here called the juice. To only monitor this network, we can craft a command using a helm tool. We will need to specify the MAC address of the access point, the channel it is running, and finally write where the packets coming into this network and the handshakes we're interested in. The file will capture that cap. So the command will look like this. Arrow.ng /b followed by the MAC address of the router or the access point, -c followed by the channel this network is on, -w followed by the output file, and finally we specify the name of the interface. After typing this command, now you'll only see your target network, and if any clients are already connected to this network, we will see them under the station section. We will have to keep capturing these packets until we find a valid handshake like the network. Alright, now we wait for a handshake. But here's the problem. What if no one connects to this network? What if the clients just stay connected or there's no new connection happening? We don't want to just sit there hoping someone will finally connect. We can actually force this process. If there's already a device connected to the network, we can run a deauthentication attack and keep that client off the network, and the moment they reconnect, the handshake will be deactivated. And to do this, we need to open second terminal window and still keeping this error terminal. And in the second terminal, we will use every PNG tool to run this command. Every PNG --d authentication, and then we will specify the packet numbers we want to send. Afterwards, we specify the MAC address of the access point, --a flag, and then finally our wireless interface name. Once you run this command and go back to your input window, you will now see that you might have a message that says either WPA handshake followed by the MAC address of the access point. And this just means that you just captured a handshake even when the clients were not planning to reconnect. Now the capture file we specified earlier will contain the encrypted handshake data. Alright, now that we got our handshake, it's now time to crack it. Now what we're going to do is to take that capture file that contains the encrypted handshake and feed it into a packet code that tries different passwords until one of them matches. And to crack the handshake, we will run a command that looks like this. Here, -w points to your word list, and in this case, we use the famous rocket word list, which has millions of words in it. And finally, we specify the capture file, which is the file where our handshake is saved. When we run this command, Aircraft takes each word from the rocket list and encrypts it the same way WPO2 does, and compares those results with the captured handshake. If there is a match and it simply means you got the password, then you will see key found written on the terminal. And in this case, we will actually be able to crack it. The password is Karibu 587. The truth about this process is that it can be fast, but it can also be painfully slow. So your success here will depend entirely on your word list. And the better the word list, the better your chances are. So you might ask, what does all of this actually mean? Well, the truth is that most home and small business networks today still rely on WPO2, and this entire process shows how fragile that can be if the password is weak. If your router or device is supported, one of the smartest things you can do right now is to upgrade to WP3. Unlike WPO2, WP3 doesn't use the same four-way handshake system, which means attackers can't just sit back, capture your traffic, and crack it up front. After WP3 is everywhere, your best defense is only the password. Make it long, random, and completely undesperate. Avoid name use a device for anything remotely predictive. Wi-Fi hacking isn't really magic. It's just a simple method, and anyone with the right tools and patience can pull it off. So now that you see exactly how this works, protect your own network like you expect an attacker to come out.
So welcome back, family. This is the Swahili classes for the weekend, and I do hope that you're doing wonderful. And we did take a break right there, and nonetheless, I do hope that your weekend is coming up just fine. And like I always do say, if not, things will eventually shape up. So stay optimistic and stay spikes. And in case you're joining us for the first time on this particular stream, feel free and you're most welcome. I did share with you a screen of the official network website. It's www.blackwaternetwork.com. And I do hope that you were able to see some of the programs, all the shows that are lined up there for you. We do have the Africa Today show. We do have the vibes. The vibes. I also did happen to notice that the poster for Kate's show is still on there. It has been a minute since I heard from Kate, but nonetheless, I do hope that she's doing wonderful. The other shows are by Joby, and the rest of the team are on there. So make sure that over the weekdays, you are able to catch up with them. And in case you haven't turned up the notifications, please make sure you do. And in case you haven't signed up on the network website, please make sure that you also do. And that will be wonderful and interesting, because you always do say that iron sharpens iron. And when you are in good company, you are able to connect with the rest of the family on there. And you are also able to just catch up with what's happening with the world. And that is it on the Black Wi-Fi network. So for our classes for today, we have been learning about Swahili, and we have talked about some of the things that the SI can be used for. And we have said that, for example, if you're talking about something positive and you just want to negate it, you can actually just negate it by just using the SI. You can actually negate it by using SI. For example, if you're talking about ninaenda sokoni, ninaenda sokoni, ninaenda sokoni, that would be I am going to the market, I am going to the market, I am going to the market. If you want to negate that particular sentence, you can simply just say siendi sokoni, which is I am not going to the market. I am not going to the market. So that is simply how you get to market. So you realize that we have learned today that you have three uses of the NI syllable, which is ni, it points to self. For example, I might say jina langu ni Spikes, or I might say ninaitwa Spikes. So the NI points to self. But when you're talking about another use of the NI, we did say that it is used as a suffix for a noun. For example, if you talk about soko is just a market. But if you did say sokoni, so the NI there, I did say is used to show that you're talking about inside that particular place. For example, sokoni is inside the market, inside, all within the market, within the market. And let me remind us of the third use of the NI syllable in Swahili. The third use of the NI syllable, apart from showing self, the first person singular, and also showing that you're talking about the place inside or within a place. For example, darasani, sokoni, shuleni, mtoni. Mtoni is for a river. If you're going to a river and you're inside the river, you'd actually say mtoni. But if you're talking about other nouns that represent a place, and then you use the ni, the ni syllable, as a suffix for that particular noun, then it shows that you're talking about within that particular place. And also, I did say that the other third use of the syllable ni is to show is. It is used in the place of is. I did give an example of the sentence chai ni tamu, chai ni tamu. You might say chai ni tamu to mean the tea is sweet. You might say keki ni tamu, keki ni tamu. It also the ni is represents is. The ni also represents is. And therefore, feel free to ask any question up to that particular point. Please ask a question. We did say that if you use your palm like this represents the 5 vowels in Swahili. You do have the a, the e, the e, the a, e, o, u. Those are the 5 vowels in Swahili. And those are the English letter A, the English letter E, the English letter I, the English letter O, and the English letter U. So those are important things to actually just make note of. And also we have talked about the consonants. The consonants, these make the major parts. They make up they make up a language, or they make up a speech in any language. And in Swahili, last week we were saying that in Swahili we do have words. Swahili is comprised of words, syllables with alternating vowel sounds. Syllables with alternating vowel sounds. For example, the word kitabu, the kitabu. That is the word book. It represents a book. But we did say that kitabu has 3 syllables: the ki, the ta, and the bu. And the ki has a consonant and the vowel, the consonant and the vowel ki, the consonant and the vowel ta, the consonant and the vowel bu. And these are vowels, syllables with alternating words. Sorry, Swahili constitutes syllables with alternating vowel sounds. Syllables with alternating vowel sounds. For example, kitabu. And also of importance to note is that X and Y are not found in the Swahili language. So X and Y are not found in Swahili, in Swahili. I keep on reminding us that X and Y are not found in Swahili, but nonetheless, you can still be able to find all the other letters of the English alphabet apart from X and Q, apart from X and Q. So for whatever reason, I'm not sure, for whatever reason, you do not have the X and Q, but maybe perhaps those particular letters are also not found in that particular alphabet. But anyway, I'm not sure for whatever reason. But in case you do have a question, please ask. In case you do have a question, tafadhali uliza. I would love to take questions from you. If you do have a question, please do ask. Tafadhali uliza. When you're talking about Swahili, Swahili is actually a very courteous and a polite language. So you realize that, for example, if you're requesting for something, you request it with a whole lot of courtesy, and you do say tafadhali, tafadhali, TAFADHRI. This is a for please. So therefore, you realize that Swahili is very, very courteous, and you might say tafadhali nipe maji. That will be please give me some water. Tafadhali nipe maji. That will be tafadhali please give me water. Give me water. So therefore, that will be tafadhali nipe maji. And you realize that it's just a way of being courteous. It's just a way of being courteous. And tafadhali simply means please. At the start of the class, we did say that we do have the word karibu. Karibu is also a Swahili a word with syllables with alternating vowel sounds. And karibu is for welcome. Karibu is for welcome. Karibu is for welcome. Karibu is for welcome. We do say if you're talking about goodbye in Swahili, you simply do say kwaheri for goodbye, kwaheri for goodbye. But if you want to make conversations and you just waving someone bye, you might say kwaheri ya kuonana, which is goodbye, see you soon. Kwaheri ya kuonana, kwaheri ya kuonana, which is goodbye, see you soon, goodbye, see you soon, or see you again, see you soon, or see you again. And Swahili, I did say something else about Swahili. Swahili is a very, very also indirect language. You realize that when two people are conversing in Swahili, normally it is not a direct language, so you do find someone just going straight to the point. There's a whole, according to the culture, which is the Swahili culture of the East African coast, you realize that there's a whole lot of indirect talk. People will be, talking about having a bit of a chit chat and just getting to know how someone's day is going before they go direct into the point. And also, we did say that if it is coming to the issue of greetings, you do find that mostly it is the elderly people that say hello to the younger. It is the elderly people that say hi to the younger people, because you might find the elderly people are having a conversation, and therefore the younger person will not just come and burst or just get involved in the conversation and say hello to them. Normally, it is them that would stop their conversation and say hi to the younger person. That is how it goes according to in the context of that Swahili culture. But nonetheless, we do have more common courtesy words, and let me just share with us this particular one so that you can see what we are talking about. And like I did say, if you have a question, feel free to interject, and once you do, I will be able to know what you haven't understood, what maybe you would like to understand, and things like that. It is very, very important, because if you're trying to conduct business, or maybe perhaps you're trying to visit East Africa, maybe perhaps you have a plan to visit Kenya, or maybe you have a plan to visit Tanzania, or maybe you have a plan to visit Rwanda. Even Rwanda, you will find a whole lot of Swahili speakers in Rwanda as well, and also Burundi. In Burundi, you will also find so many Swahili speakers in Burundi as well. I was surprised to realize that even in Zambia, you will find Swahili speakers in Zambia, very many of them. I was saying that there's a friend of mine who is an artist in Zambia. We've actually interviewed him sometimes back. and he has some songs in Swahili, but I think their language is Bemba and Nyanja. Is it Nyanja? I think Bemba and Nyanja. Those are the languages are spoken in Zambia. But in Zimbabwe, if you go to Zimbabwe, you'll find people speaking in Shona. Shona is also another beautiful language. Nyanja is a beautiful language. Bemba is a beautiful language, as well as many other African languages. On the continent, we do have about 1,500 languages, have about 1,500 languages. If you travel and go to Ethiopia, you will come across 81 languages. If you travel and go to Nigeria, you will find about 150 languages. If you come to Kenya, there are about 47 languages. If you go to Cameroon, you'll also find about 100 languages. Nonetheless, there's a whole lot of positivity in the diversity. It is not all bad, but nonetheless, sometimes it is important to have one common language, which is Swahili, which can unite us as a people around the continent. I did say that Cameroon is very funny because you do find the Anglophones fighting the Francophones, and you realize that this is not fair, because why would a French speaker be fighting an English speaker, but they are not involved in fighting the languages of the natives in there? It is a whole lot of a confusion, because the African people have been invaded by the colonialists, and they were pushed to have allegiance to the colonialists more than they would have allegiance to their own brother and sister, which is actually very, very sad. But nonetheless, these are the five words. Even as we learn the Swahili, we do say karibu for welcome. We do say asante for thanks. We do say tafadhali for please. We do say pole, which is pronounced or which is spelled as a pole, P-O-L-E, pole for sorry. We do say samahani if someone has, someone you want someone to come again, or it means excuse me, but you do say samahani. For goodbye, we have already touched on that. It is kwaheri. If you want someone to repeat, you can still say come again or samahani. If you want to warn someone of maybe a danger ahead, you simply say tahadhari, which is beware. And if you want to tell them that there is danger ahead, you simply say hatari mbele, kuna hatari mbele. The K-U-N-A is a simple Swahili word, kuna, K-U-N-A, which is a phrase, which means there is. And the last one there is kila laheri. And someone might tell you nakutakia kila laheri. It simply means I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best in terms of whatever thing that you're trying to do. Maybe perhaps you're taking an exam and they just want to wish you they just want to wish you the best. Maybe perhaps you're going on a journey, maybe you're in a pursuit of a job, and someone just wants to wish you the best. They simply say nakutakia kila laheri. But K-U-N-A is a word, is a phrase rather, which means there is. For example, if someone was to say kuna chakula kidogo, kuna chakula kidogo, kuna chakula kidogo, that simply is understood. There is a little food. There is a little food. I did say kidogo means a little. Kidogo simply means a little. Kidogo. I also did say sana means a lot. Sana means a lot in terms of much. So if I did say karibu sana, it means you are much welcome. But I'd say nipe maji kidogo, it simply means give me a bit of water. Give me a bit of water. And you do find that in case you're talking about even money, things like money, we do say pesa kidogo. Pesa kidogo. P-E-S-A is a little money. P-E-S-A. Pesa kidogo is a little money. So you would say nipe pesa kidogo. That would be give me a little money. If something is followed, like a noun is followed after the word nipe, nipe simply means is a phrase meaning give me. So if it is say nipe wakati, it means give me time. Nipe wakati, give me is nipe. So you might be requesting for so many things, but you need to remember that you have to use a common courtesy word, tafadhali. So you might say nipe wakati kidogo, tafadhali. Nipe maji kidogo, tafadhali. You might say nipe chakula kidogo, tafadhali. And there are things like coffee and tea, which we learned about last week. If you want coffee, you would say nipe kahawa, nipe kahawa, kahawa for coffee. So give me coffee, give me coffee. If you did say nipe chakula, that will be give me food. If you did say nipe chai, 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 that will be give me tea, give me tea, give me tea. Nipe chai, which is nipe, is give me nipe chai. And in our previous session, we have talked about requesting for something. If you're requesting for something, you simply say ninataka. It's Ninataka, ninataka, then which is I want. So therefore, you might say ninataka maji, ninataka sukari, ninataka chumvi. Chumvi is simply for salt. Chumvi kidogo. Chumvi is salt. So therefore, if you meant give me some salt, you say nipe chumvi, nipe chumvi, and it's very very easy, not difficult to understand. And once you do, remember the only way to learn Swahili is actually learning it with friends, or learning it with your colleagues, or learning it with your friends. You might be at work and you're practicing it with your friends, because there is no way you're going to learn a language by yourself. You have to do it with people. And for example, the more you speak it with people, the easier it becomes. You start to comprehend it even much better. So therefore, do not find it. You need to keep on finding time. Colleagues, it might be at work, it might be with your family members at home, your sister, your brother, whomever. It means that you are able to just get better with the language simply by practicing, because we all know that practice makes perfect, right? Practice makes perfect. So once again, my name is Spikes. In case you do have a question as we getting closer to winding up, please make sure that you ask. Please ask in case you have a question as we wind up. Tafadhali uliza swali. Tafadhali is just a word for please. So we do say tafadhali uliza swali. Tafadhali uliza swali. Tafadhali uliza swali. And if I'm talking about any question, I would simply just say uliza swali lolote. Uliza swali lolote. That would be ask any question. It might be pertaining to what we've done. It might be pertaining to maybe anything that you've heard about Swahili, and maybe perhaps you'd like clarified, because we would love to respond, and maybe perhaps have you also understand better. Maybe perhaps have you understand better of these beautiful East African language. For those that have had the opportunity with the Black Code Fire to tour East Africa, I am sure that you can attest to the fact that it's very important that you do have these particular language skills, even for basic communication. Even for, you don't need to be a perfect Swahili speaker, but the basics as a beginner, it will be very very helpful. Some years back, we did have an opportunity with the network to go to Dar es Salaam, and in Dar es Salaam, they do have the pure version of Swahili. These are the versions of Swahili from Nairobi is diluted. Someone will tell you from Nairobi that Mambo is a greeting. Mambo is, of course, it is a greeting, but niaje. But if you go to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, they do have a better taste in their Swahili, and therefore they are able to speak and communicate very, very fluently in that particular reward. And what happens is that even for those who have not had the opportunity, to go outside, it is still very, very important. It is still very, very important for someone to be able to engage, even for business. There are many reasons as to why we learn Swahili. But even engaging in the language for business, that is very, very important that we get to do that. engage, that you get to engage, not just for business, not just for tourism and visiting purposes, but even for the sake of basic communication and being able to interact with people as well. For the members of the family, it is important. For the members of the family, it is important with it is very, very important that you are able to connect with your roots simply by a language. Personally, I like to consider myself as an anthropologist, because through a language, you are able to understand how people correlate with each other. You are able to understand how people get to live, their culture. Through language, you are able to just simply understand what it is that people value in that particular regard. And you are able to understand so many other things simply by just connecting with people from that particular point of the language. It's very, very important that you have an interest in at least one African language. I do understand that people focus on different things. For example, I did hear a producer. I have interacted with a few music producers. Some of them are my friends. And someone did get to tell me that if you're actually an artist, please make sure that you can play at least one instrument. For a producer, that is the kind of advice that people are given. If you are an artist, please make sure that you can play at least one instrument. So for me, my urge to you is, if as an African person, it might be you are as a black person rather, as an African person or a black person, whatever term that you like to use, please make sure that you have learned at least one African language. We might be here learning Swahili, and you might be like, that's not it for me. But please make sure that you learn at least one African language as an African person anywhere around the world. You might be in the States, you might be in South America, you might be in the UK, you might be whatever part you might be in the world. It is very, very important that at least you are able to learn one African language. For us here, we just chose and I found it prudent to just teach us or learn Swahili, because it is the language that is mostly spoken on the continent, with over 150 million speakers. Some will contend, and I say that it is about 200 million speakers. I do not know the exact figure, but we also do have the International Swahili Day, which is on the 7th of July, International Day of Swahili, International Day of Swahili. And this is marked, or this is highlighted on the 7th day of July every year. And this is just a day to recognize the global relevance of Swahili, which is a language with over 200 million speakers, that serves as a vital tool for communication, as a vital tool for cultural diversity, and also for unity across East, Central, and Southern Africa. Hopefully, I do hope that even with time, even our brothers in West Africa, I do hope with time that even our brothers in West Africa will also be able to embrace Swahili, just like Southern Africa is doing. About 3 years ago, there was a memorandum signed between the government of Kenya and the government of South Africa, so that Kenyans would export, quote unquote, export Swahili tutors to South Africa, so that they would teach the language there. It's a beautiful language that South Africans, I believe, are loving it. And another language that is beautiful is the Zulu language. Is it the Zulu? Is it called Zulu or Shona? Sorry, Zulu language. Let me see. What do you call it? Um, the Zulu language. Yeah, Zulu, all the is Zulu. It's called Zulu, all the is Zulu. there is also another beautiful language that maybe perhaps you'd love to learn and get to interact with. So as we get closer, to winding up, so mostly what does happen is that once you pick on an interest in learning a language, the more consistent you are, the better you are. So we are almost winding up for today's session. Please let me know if you did have a question. I would be glad to answer before we wrap it up. Before we wrap up the session, please ask the question as we wind up. Tafadhali uliza swali, na kama huna swali ni sawa. If you don't have something, you do say sina, S-I-N-A. You simply do say I don't have, which is sina. So you would actually say sina swali. That would be I don't have a question. I don't have a question. Sina swali, I don't have a question. Also in Swahili, we do have the affirmative and the negative. For example, if you're talking about yes, you nod your head like this, and you're saying yes to this and that, you nod your head. The way you nod, like yes, like this, that in Swahili is ndio. That is ndio. And if you nod like this in that Swahili culture, you nod like this, that is a no. That is hapana. All la. La also means no. L-A also means no. So if someone was to ask you, je, unataka chakula? Do you want some food? And you say ndio, ndio is actually yes. But if you say hapana or hapana, then someone simply understands that you do not want any food, and that maybe perhaps your tummy is full. Maybe perhaps your tummy is actually full, and that is why you do not want any food, or you do not want any water, which is maji, or you do not want any coffee, which is kahawa, or you do not want any chai for tea, or maziwa for milk. So that is what it is. So the last thing we'll touch is just the use of the na. The na is a connector, and it means and. So if someone says mkate na chai, it means tea and tea and bread. Mkate is tea, mkate is bread, mkate. Na chai, that will be tea and bread, because na is a connector. It means and. So if you talk about kitabu na kalamu is simply like a pen, a book and a pen, So that is simply how you put things together. And it is not even difficult. It is very, very easy. Someone can simply just connect things and say, ninataka simu na pesa. That will be I want a phone and money. You might say I want nataka kofia na shati. That would be I want a cap or a hat and a shirt. Or you might say kaptula, nataka kaptula na shati. That would be I want a trouser and a shirt. It is not even difficult. You are simply able to do that, and you can be able to just use those particular the connector now to be able to just put your point across. If no one has a question, I just want to end it here. We shall pick up tomorrow the Swahili classes for the weekend, and I want to thank everyone so much for being with us through that particular segment. Do not take it for granted. As always, it is a delight to have you tuned in, and it is not for granted. We never take it for granted. We know that you're taking your time Normally, people are busy over the weekend with different schedules, but nonetheless, you take your time to connect with us, and it is very, very important that you commit time. Learning a language is something that you commit to, and you cannot learn a language very, very in 2 days or in one day. It takes a process. There are so many resources that you can use, but nonetheless, for now, let me wish you a happy and a productive weekend. Happy and a productive rest of your day. And we shall catch up tomorrow, even as we continue learning this beautiful language that we shall be learning on Saturdays and Sundays. And if you want to reach out, you can write an email, black@fireafrica@gmail.com, and I will be more than glad to respond in any of the issues, in any of the things that you have learned about Swahili, or even with issues to do with Africa, because we also do have that African correspondence going on in any issue that you'd like to get clarification over, especially in East Africa, because that is where we are actually based as the Black Fire, even with plans to expand across the continent to West Africa and other places. For now, much peace and love. Amani na upendo. Till next time, I want to wish you a happy and a productive rest of your day. Kwaheri ya kuonana. See you soon.